seriously popular.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to MAGAland. It's Monday, April 14th, and we are with Charlie Spearing today. Kelly's out for the day. How are you, Charlie?
Doing well, Hermione.
It was another busy weekend, and we're going to talk all about it. We have a lot of headlines for you this Monday, including, of course, Trump's appearance at the UFC fight and the Cheryl Hines alleged snub going viral, Bernie Sanders showing up at Coachella, and Trump launching yet another tirade against 60 Minutes, CBS, and Paramount. We're also going to be talking about two incidents of very scary political violence that we saw over the weekend, as well as Trump's cognitive test, which apparently reveals he has the stats of a pro athlete. SNL taking another stab at Trump, this time with a brilliant The White POTUS segment. We'll be back with all of this after the break.
And now, two pigeons who can't believe how good humans have it with DirecTV.
These humans are hopping from streaming apps to live sports without batting a wing.
All from the DirecTV home screen.
With just one click, you could be watching a baseball game, a movie on Netflix,
Or a critically acclaimed documentary.
You watch documentaries?
I love the ones that leave you with a question.
What?
Exactly.
DirecTV, a better way to watch whatever you want to watch. Visit DirecTV.com. Internet connected Gemini device, separate Netflix membership, and additional paid subscriptions required for third-party apps. Restrictions apply.
Welcome to MAGAland.
Charlie, on Friday, you told me that Trump was on his way to Florida to hang out with the base of MAGAland, doing what he does best. And indeed, this event went viral, particularly this moment where he appears to refuse to shake Cheryl Hines' hand. However, I saw that he went back to shake her hand after this. So what really happened there?
Very hard to say exactly what happened. He obviously said hello to RFK Jr. and was making the rounds. Almost every single noteworthy Trump official was at this event. It's really become a gathering space for anybody who's part of the administration. Almost looks like a Trump cabinet meeting. Obviously, Cheryl Hines wanted to handshake, but you can understand with all the noise and commotion and everybody else in the room, it probably wasn't intentional. And then, of course, quickly turning back to shake her hand as it was clear that she felt a little bit upset that she didn't even get a handshake with the president.
Agreed. I think it was not intentional by the president, but certainly it was so awkward for her. It appeared like a scene from Curb Your Enthusiasm when she really reacted to the moment.
She's not necessarily a huge Trump supporter, as we know. She tends to lean a little bit more left on most of the issues. Obviously supports the president because of the president's support for her husband. So very interesting to see her dynamic in this situation. One of the rare celebrities in the room to react to the president's visit there.
I keep thinking, though, the way things work now in politics, because does anyone remember the scandal of the emotional affair between RFK Jr. and the journalist Olivia Nuzzi? Because it's like everyone forgot. Cheryl stepped back for a little bit and then appeared alongside him. It's kind of like the Melania strategy. Same thing. She just disappears while people are talking about Trump and not positive news, and then she reappears alongside him, and it does work in getting people to forget. Charlie, you said something that I agree with, and it's something that I've been noting for a while on this show, the huge range of the MAGA umbrella. And I think, I'm not really sure this moment, but there was some situation during the match. I don't understand about any of this, the sports part of it, so I'm not sure what was going on stage. But Dave Portnoy kept putting up a flag of Israel, and he was saying that someone in the match was a Nazi or something. What do you know about that?
One of the fighters had made comments about Hitler before, and so people had really turned this match into a fight between pro-Israel and pro-Hitler. Obviously, with these fights, any sort of dissension can be drummed up into full throttle drama, and so I think that was successful, and certainly Portnoy only helps this by waving the Israeli flag.
That's peak MAGAland.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the WWE storylines, but now let's put politics and foreign affairs in it. Oh my God.
Everybody who's anybody in MAGAland was at this fight. You had Marco Rubio, Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk, especially because it was in Florida. Easy flight down there, easy to go to and make your presence known.
But the Democrats had their own time in the culture this weekend at Coachella. We saw Bernie Sanders give a speech before he introduced Clyro at Coachella. And of course, that is a crowd that would love someone like Bernie Sanders. And he went there with his speech that really hasn't really changed. And I think that's why it continues to be popular. It's just old school. You are the young people. You need to fight against the powers that be and the billionaires. Let's take a listen to some of his words.
Now we got a president of the United States who, I agree, and the future of what happens to America is dependent upon your generation.
Tarly, 80 plus Bernie Sanders is the only one with the Democrats doing stuff like this.
And honey, what a great contrast to put the UFC fight versus the young hippies at Coachella. Although I think Coachella is like a little step above hippies, right? It's slightly more stylish.
It's for rich, famous people when they want to cosplay hippies who don't care about possessions.
Very well put, but absolutely to have Bernie appearing in front of these rich young people who are pretending to be hippies and delivering really demonstrates the party's attempt to reach out to these people. Like, look, we need another revolution, and you young people are the ones who are going to kick it off. Find these cultural events, show up, make a splash, get some headlines. But yeah, it doesn't even come close to the star power that you have built up around this UFC type event. So
Totally.
but
That's
yeah,
more organic too.
Two totally different sides of American culture, and very interesting to see the Democrats searching and choosing Coachella above all
But
others.
that's such a good point, too, the people in the crowd, because Bernie Sanders is asking, you are the young people to fight against the power. And who is in the crowd? Billionaire Kylie Jenner, Oscar nominee Timothy Chalamet. It's all, as you said, the young, rich people who can pay to cosplay in the desert for those days. Trump continues to go against 60 Minutes. I actually think I know why. He has a soft spot for them. And I think it's because Trump, who's a showman, to him, part of making it in the world is a glowing 60-minute profile, which I'm sure he had several before he entered politics. And I think now he has a chip on his shoulder about why is 60 Minutes not treating me like they treated Obama? Why are they so disrespectful of me? So he went on social media and ranted, said he's so happy that he's suing them over their interview with Kamala Harris. And apparently he was upset this time around over a segment in Ukraine. It was a rant. He says that 60 Minutes basically has to be destroyed. Why this focus?
60 Minutes is one of the last premier news journalists on network news. It's one of the premier showcases of journalism and something that the president watches, it appears, every Sunday night. Most Americans are moving past traditional media, but it's very clear the president has not. Trump is obviously upset. Two features on 60 Minutes, both casting him in a bad light. Certainly Trump was the villain in the Zelensky feature where the host, Scott Pelley, travels to Ukraine, features all the disaster, and gives another glowing interview to Zelensky, offering Zelensky the opportunity to lash out and criticize both Trump and JD Vance, which he did.
See, I didn't watch 60 Minutes. Oh, God.
Zelensky goes right back to criticizing Trump and JD Vance, and again saying, you are imitating Russian propaganda and we are not happy with you. Very surprising to see Zelensky repeat himself.
Right. Even if you agree with what he's saying, we now know that he can't afford to say that.
I'm not sure what Zelensky is thinking here. I think he has been told by his advisors, perhaps by other European leaders, to just continue hammering President Trump and Vice President JD Vance for allowing Russian disinformation from his point of view is being spread, and that Ukraine is the victim here and it should not be seen as a 50-50 issue.
Well, on another note, in the war between empires, China continues to fight back in the tariff war with information. And what better tool do they have than TikTok to do this? And apparently, TikTok has been flooded with videos that reveal how many luxury brands depend on Chinese manufacturing and cheap labor to produce their products. They're basically wanting to make sure that Americans know, even if something doesn't explicitly say made in China. They have these videos that show, hey, you think this luxury product is made in Italy? No, actually, here is how it works. That is a strong tool for the Chinese to have, TikTok.
But it almost shoots themselves in the foot, right? If you reveal that some of the biggest brands are made in China, then you realize how much you're getting ripped off by those luxury brands. Producing items for pennies and then charging hundreds of dollars for a specific bag. I think that's a very dangerous path to go down, to demonstrate that everything is just made in the same place.
I always say, like, at what point, also with all the money we owe China, now with this, they make everything. It's like, at what point did we allow this? It's like when you're boiling the frog and she doesn't realize it. There's definitely no easy answer to this, but we're going to be right back with MAGAland updates after this break. Charlie, we had been talking here about an increase in threats of political violence, particularly with the attacks against Tesla cars and such. And we had really two horrific incidents over the weekend, and they really show each side. On one side, the mansion of Governor Shapiro in Pennsylvania was attacked by an arsonist who has now been arrested. The pictures are horrific. The family was in there celebrating Passover when this person who has posted online against Joe Biden set part of the house on fire. Thankfully, the family was in a completely different area of the home and were awoken by police who managed, thank God, to put down the flames and no one was hurt. But the images are horrifying. The suspect said that if he had encountered the governor, he would have hit him with a hammer.
Right. To have the governor reveal this information on social media in early morning, referring to events that took place, shocking stuff. We immediately saw a lot of Republicans, including J.D. Vance, condemn this activity, condemn the behavior. It was obviously Shapiro's being targeted because of his faith and because of his position as the governor of Pennsylvania at a time when Jews are celebrating Passover all over the country.
On the other side, we had another horrific crime story. This was a teen who killed his parents as part of a plot to gain the money and autonomy to assassinate President Trump. Talk about a country divided, that we have these two stories over the weekend. I'm sure every president has a lot of threats on his life constantly, but Trump has to be up there.
Absolutely. This is not just some crazy person. A lot of the images and documents that they found pointed out that he is a right wing, certainly loves Hitler, hates Trump.
Now things are so odd that it's not even left versus right. It could be a right winger who hates Trump, correct? So that's what this one is.
So this is so far right. This is like pro-Hitler. The normal categories of right-wing extremists, left-wing extremists don't always fit so neatly in the bundle. You see both parties trying to announce these attacks and be like, look, this is what the left is doing. Look, how dare they? But at the same time, you really have to focus on these are just dangerous, nasty people who are conducting this behavior that absolutely should be condemned.
In better news for President Trump, he was very happy to share his cognitive test with the country. It says he is 6'3", 224 pounds, and has 4.8% body fat, which people have read as he is in the shape of a top NFL athlete. How can it be? A reporter from Mike Lindell's media company actually got up at the White House press room, and her question was just, Trump is looking amazing. He's so great. How has he lost so much weight? What is his secret? And then the White House press secretary was like, yes, 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 indeed. The president looks better every day. He is playing golf. It is amazing, though, because we all know Trump's eating habits, and his workout regimen. And it is fascinating that he is physically very well off.
Very interesting. And some of these stats you feel are a little bit stretched out, but
Especially the
otherwise,
6'3",
it's good to
because
know.
he should be shrinking by now. And at some point, he was 6'3".
Anytime they've released public information about the physical, you always question things. In this case, I think that most people still believe that Trump is not necessarily the most athletic or physically fit president, but at least we know that he seems to pass these cognitive tests and can carry conversations
1,000%.
and does spend a lot of time on the golf course, getting out, getting sunshine, having some activity.
I remember the last Trump term, the White House doctor, who I think was also Obama's, came out and said he's in great
Right.
health. And the media was like, no, it's impossible. He eats McDonald's. He's obese. And the doctor was just like, I don't know what to tell you. It's just genetics. And I really do think with a lot of these things, it works out that way, because you look at someone like Biden, he might seem to be in better shape, but he's not.
But Trump being 20 pounds down from his physical in 2020, that's significant.
I thought it was funny how he was bragging about the test, because a journalist asked him, what did they ask you? And he was like, I don't remember any questions, but I know I got everything right. Like, it's just the most Trump thing. But right before I sat down to record, the president of El Salvador, Bukele, meeting with Trump in the Oval Office. And wow, another love fest. And this one does make sense. These two are meant to be. I've been following Bukele for a while, and it's such a hard analysis for me, because Bukele has made people in El Salvador feel safer in their home countries and have perhaps a better life. But it's undeniable that to do this, he's had to violate human rights. The question is, to fix a country this way, can you avoid violating human rights? I thought it was interesting that Trump, of course, started the meeting saying that it was all Joe Biden's fault. He said, this is a sin what they did to our country, but thankfully you are helping us out. Let's take a listen.
Well, we had a terrible thing happen. We had an administration that allowed people to come in freely into our country from not only South America, but from all over the world, many from the Congo in Africa, Asia, all over the world, Europe, rough parts of Europe. And they came from prisons, and they came from mental institutions, and they came from gangs, and the gangs of Venezuela and other places. And hundreds of thousands and even millions of them came. 21 million people altogether, but many of the people that came, just a tremendous percentage of them, were criminals, in some cases violent criminals. We had 11,088 known murderers. Half of them murdered more than one person. This was allowed by a man who, what he did to our country is just unbelievable. So we're straightening it out. We're getting them out. But what they did and what that party did to our country, open borders, anybody could come in. As soon as I heard that, I said, every prison's going to be emptied out into our country. That's what happened.
Then Bukele, he's very Trumpist. This is a guy who was doing Trump at the same time that Trump started doing Trump. And he knows how to treat him. He came claiming that one of the Venezuelan gangsters that they sent to El Salvador, he told the story that, I was talking to this gangster and I asked him, how do you end up here? And the gangster said, well, they arrested me 4 times and nothing happened. All I did was shoot a policeman in the leg. I didn't even kill him. And they sent me here. That's the story that Bukele told Trump. However, we know that that's not the full story. Did you take a look at the Love Fest?
It's very interesting because you had Stephen Miller come out pretty strongly, basically repeating, in spite of all these people who claim that they're not gang members, that they shouldn't be deported, he really reaffirmed that they are in the United States illegally. And even if we did bring them back, we'd probably deport them right away.
But to their own countries, hopefully. That's the key detail here.
Right.
I did want to note, Ice Barbie, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, was at the meeting with Bukele. And it's so funny how these meetings work, because Trump just goes, this is what's happening. And then he goes, Kristi, would you like to say something? And she steps up and she's like, yes, President Trump, you have been doing amazing. And I do everything you say. And I go out with ICE and I go on these raids. And she really was there showing off how, as we have discussed, she personally goes on these ICE mass raids to deport these people. She said something like, no one who doesn't love America should be here, so we're going to get them. It's so made for TV. It's fascinating.
Kristi Noem is one of these characters that the president is very much a huge fan of. We saw during the cabinet meeting, he likes to call her the beautiful but deadly law enforcement official, really a character in Trump land.
Let's close off. I don't know if you saw this, Charlie, but I thought it was quite funny. And SNL is not usually funny these days, but sometimes they have a hit. And I think this was one of them. The White POTUS, of course, mocking the White Lotus. Did you watch the White Lotus?
I did not see this season this time around. I was keeping an eye on the headlines, but when I saw this skit, I did not fully understand all the insider jokes about the White Lotus. Maybe you can help me out. Certainly the girl with the bad teeth, that was sort of an inside joke.
Because I thought that was so funny, but then the actress was offended, and I'm like, you're right, because they were making fun of her teeth, her looks, and her accent, which are things I guess you can't control, but I laughed at that moment very hard, I have to admit.
It shows that Saturday Night Live is being a little more risky on some of their jokes. Willing to create some controversy.
But I thought it did a great job because this season was about a rich and important guy who goes on vacation with his family and gets a call that he's been caught doing some white-collar crime. And he decides to turn off the phone so the family doesn't find out. And the entire time he's freaking out because the moment they go back, the fairy tale life is over. And he keeps asking his family, like, do you think you could be poor? And all of them are like, no, I don't think so. I'd rather not. So Trump plays this character in this skit in the context of the tariffs. Melania's just like, oh, imagine destroying the U.S. economy, Trump. You would never do that. And Trump is just like, freaking
that
out.
makes sense.
My favorite part as well was certain cabinet members. Marco Rubio, played by Marcelo, my favorite new cast member. Scarlett Johansson plays Ivanka. Marco Rubio's talking to two cabinet officials, and they're talking about whatever. And Marco Rubio, as the one Hispanic around, goes like, you guys, but everyone does like me though. Like, I'm okay, right? And I just lost it. I lost it. But anyway, I think this is a type of political stuff that SNL could do well because it's not so deep. It's just we're uniting a popular show with the biggest tariffs news and not making it deeper than that. But anyway, thank you so much, Charlie, for helping me update our listeners here in Welcome to MAGAland. And of course, we're going to stay in tune with everything that goes down in Washington and bring you all the news next time on Wednesday. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you so much.
Remember to follow us on Instagram at Welcome to MAGAland and email us at welcometomagaland.com.